Hey everyone, come on out to the garden with me and let's do a chore that is totally dreaded, at least I dread it, and that is thinning the cut flowers that I direct sowed last autumn. I am so heavy-handed when it comes to direct sowing. And thinning is a necessary process, but I absolutely despise doing it. So this is a bed of bupleurum that I direct sowed about 8 weeks before my first frost, which my first frost is usually around October 23rd, somewhere in there. So I direct sowed these probably around mid-August, something like that. And they are so thick and so full. I'm seeing some weeds in there. I came out the other day and I looked at them and I said, I know these need to be thinned, but I was like, ugh, how? Because it started pulling some out and it just wasn't working for me and they just weren't pulling out. And I said, okay, well, I'll take my garden clippers and I'll clip some. And then I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And you know, sometimes if you're patient, when you're just ready to give up, the answer comes. So this morning I was listening to Layne and Lisa at thegardenersworkshop.com. I think their podcast is called Seed Talk. And I get a lot of my products from the Gardener's Workshop. But my answer for thinning the bupleurum came this morning on the podcast. I was like, yes! And I have one of these Japanese hand hoes here that I bought from the Gardener's Workshop. You can see that I'm kind of a bad girl, that I leave it out. I leave it out in my little faux porch all the time, and it does get rained on and stuff sometimes, but it's somewhat protected. But I love this thing. It's so good for popping out dandelions and all kinds of stuff that, you know, or whatever kind of weed you need to pop out in your garden or in your pathways or whatever. You definitely have to bend over, of course. I think they make a long-handled, something similar to this. Now what I'm going to do, and with bupleurum, as Lisa was talking about this morning, and if you're not familiar with Lisa Mason Ziegler and their whole organization, you should check them out, thegardenersworkshop.com. If you live outside of the U.S., they don't ship their products outside of the U.S., but you can still go on their website and you can still follow their YouTube channel. And I tell you, she's like my mentor. She's one of my mentors. I have a couple of garden mentors, but she's one of them definitely. And I have learned so much. So she was saying with bupleurum, it is pretty forgiving, that you can let it be a little bit thicker in the bed. And in fact, last year I did not thin it out at all and it did fine. But there's just a few that I want to pop out. And with this, it has a sharp edge here. With this, it'll just kind of pop it out. Because these were sowed in the fall, they actually have a taproot. So this is not going to get the entire taproot unless you really dig down in there, but I don't want to disrupt the roots of the plant next to it. So it's basically going to pop off the part of the plant. The taproot's still going to be under there, and you say, well, it's just going to grow back, and that's possible. But I can still go through and re-thin if I need to. The bupleurum is a filler, so it gets a real pretty yellow little flower. It makes a great filler for your early spring arrangements and things like that. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this here. I've already done a couple, and you can see here that it just kind of popped it off. And you might say, well, you need to replant that, but there's no root here. It's not going to work. So you just compost those. So I'm just taking my little Japanese hand hoe and popping out. And there we go. I did get some root with this one. I actually got two here. But they need to come out because they are crowding the others, and it'll just give these some really nice room to do their thing. So I'm going to take my hand and just sort of secure around the one that's next to the one I popped out. I've got one here that just is sickly looking, so that's just coming out, that I'm taking out. This is just going to be a lifesaver as far as thinning, because I was dreading it and I still dread it, but at least I know now that I already had the tool in my arsenal to take care of it. It's hard to know which one to leave and which one to sacrifice as far as the plant. I have them in kind of rows here, and you just sort of look, okay, that one is kind of pointing out maybe he needs to come out. So you have to make an executive decision, and see, it just popped right out. I'm going to move the camera so you can get a little bit better angle of what I'm talking about here. While I'm moving the camera around, I'll give you a quick overhead shot of how this Bupleurum looks. See, it doesn't look that bad, but you can see up there in that corner. Let me zoom in. Yeah, I see up there in that corner, that needs to be thinned out. That's pretty thick in there. I was just noticing the tag, and it says that I sowed these on 9/13, September 13th. I was pushing it a little bit. I thought I'd sowed them around, August 20th, which that's when I should have sown them. So I must have been thinking, oh, I can do the 6-week mark. Maybe I forgot in August. I probably did. Or I probably had something else in this bed. All right, so let's just pop some of this corner. These aren't going to do anything here in this corner. Let's pop one of those out. And if you get the right angle on this little hoe, it just chops it right off. I say that and oh, there we go. Yeah, so that's about it. In case I didn't say, I am in zone 6B. So the Bupleurum, Nigella, Bachelor Button, Feverfew, Larkspur, what else? Yarrow I have planted that I use as an annual. I usually use it as a dried flower, the yarrow. What else? Did I say Bachelor Button? Rudbeckia, Orlea. I have some Orlea that's kind of coming up. Those things are good for me to fall sow. All right, so let's get back to the task at hand here. Pop. Yep, oop, we got 2, but that's okay. This little corner is like really thick. So there we go. All right, so I'm going to finish thinning out the rest of this, and then we might move to the Bachelor Button, and we'll take a look at that. That is like super thick. So look at this little bed of Bachelor's Button. It is so thick, and you can see I've got a hole there. I can actually sow some more seed there. Let's get in here and see what we want to let go. And I'm already seeing, oh man, I'm seeing some buds, I think, coming on there. I'm almost tempted not to thin these, but you know they'll get powdery mildew. Sometimes the Bachelor Button gets powdery mildew, and they're just way too thick. And you do want to sow a little heavier when you direct sow in the autumn, but I mean really not this thick. I'm just having a hard time deciding on what to sacrifice. Oh, there's one that just popped out. Okay, there we go. But you see that? This is not a real healthy looking transplant anyway, or not a transplant, seedling. It's not a real healthy looking seedling. Wow. Yeah, that's a big clump right there. My grandchildren are riding their bikes down here. Hey guys, be careful! Woo! They're going fast, like I used to. Don't you just love it? Woohoo! They have on helmets. Good job, Mom and Dad. We live on a farm, so you think, well, do they need helmets? Yeah, they need helmets. Okay, let's get back here. I get so distracted when my grandchildren are around. Does anybody else out there pray a lot over their grandchildren? You know, it's one thing with your own children, but it's like when you get grandchildren, it's different. Okay, so we're getting her. I'm just going to work on these a little bit more. Let me sit down. I'm going to work on these a little bit more, and maybe I'll take a few shots and show you after I'm all done. The Bupleurum already looks better, that bed. Get you one of these handheld hoes. They are excellent, really good. It's been a super useful tool to me in the garden. Thanks for joining me today, friends, and until next time, happy gardening. Happy thinning. Bye.